Okay, so welcome to this video. We're going to talk about solving equations, and there's two properties in particular that are the main focus of solving equations. And the first one is the addition property of equality. And it simply says that if you have A plus B equals C, then if you subtract B from both sides in order to solve the equation, okay? So you must do it to both sides. That is the key here. And that's where, when I'm telling you to show your work, I need to see you adding or subtracting to both sides. And in the same way, when you're doing the multiplication property, you have to divide by the same number to both sides. And so in this case, B would equal C over A. And so again, we need to see that division on both sides. Now, I don't want a line drawn and then 1A. That's not acceptable. So you divide on both sides. Okay? So I'm going to just run through some problems here for you. So this first one would do the addition property. So I would minus 3 from both sides, and X would equal 2. The second one is using the inverse property. So the inverse of 3/4 would be 4/3. Because that's really what we're doing, so that these cancel, and I'm left with X equals, and then I just do the math. I could, if I wanted to, take 3 into 9 and say that's 3, and therefore my answer would be 12. Okay? What I don't want to see is the division by the division, because most of you, if I gave that to you, in a separate problem, would not know how to do that. So that would be a no. Okay? This one is going to incorporate the distributive property. So if you have an equation that has a distributive property in it, that is typically your very first step that you're going to do. Then I'm going to do the addition property of equality. And then I'm going to do the multiplication property of equality, which is to multiply both sides by 1/2. Now, typically, most of you would just put it over 2, and that would be fine also. But you're really multiplying both sides by 1/2. And so X equals 2. When you have X's on both sides, then you do need to get them together. So in order to move that X over, we would do the opposite. That is your addition property. Equals a -6. Now I would need to move the 4 over and then divide by the 2. Oops, that's a 5. Okay? Now that's just some examples. The other thing that I want you to remember when you are doing solving equations is there are 3 possible answers. Okay? 3 possible answers. So the first scenario is where you have a problem that it ends up like the ones that I just did here, where you get something like X equals 2, or X equals a -5. Or X equals 3/4, whatever the problem might be. That's one possible. The second possible scenario is where, when you work it out, everything cancels and you end up with something like 2 equals 2, or a -5 equals a -5, or 3/4 equals 3/4. Okay? And this is all real numbers. Okay? You can't check an all real number problem because everything works, okay? Your third scenario is if you ended up with something like 2 equals 5, or a -5 equals a -10, or 1/2 equals 3/4, okay? And that is a no solution, okay? So remember, when you are solving, you do have the potential to have 3 possible answers.